Hi everyone, Alborz here from Alborz.Design, and here we are with the first episode of a series where I go through a bunch of logos, 6, 7 or 8 of them maybe each time, and I try to recreate them in Sketch. For the first episode, I'm taking logos from this book called Logo Modernism because this book is amazing, and without this book, as reference, as help you become more creative when you have that creative block. I don't know how anyone can design any logos without this book, seriously. Anyway, so what we're going to do is pick 6 logos from these few pages that I found online and try to recreate them here in Sketch. So what I'm going to do is try and find 6 very simple logos for the first episode, and in the future episodes we can pick more and more complicated ones. I'm hoping that by gradually increasing the complexity, I can try and put as many tips and tricks in each episode as possible, so that I can teach you guys. So just having a look around at these logos, trying to find a simple one to recreate. This one looks really nice. Very geometric. Why don't we pick this one? I'm just gonna mark it with some color here, purple, because you can see it from even when you're zoomed out all the way. There it is. This one looks nice, and let's pick this one. Maybe it looks okay. This one's also very geometrical. There's 3 logos. Forgot to. Okay, and let's see what else we got here. Out of these, I think let's see. This one would be fun to create. This one would be really easy to create. But maybe we can start with that one. And this one, it's I can see a few tricks there. All right, so let's start with this logo. The first thing I'm gonna do is take a screenshot of the logo right here. And then what I'm going to do is create a new artboard and give it a 100 by 100 size, and then hit Command 2 and zoom on the artboard. By the way, I'm using space to move around. So if you hold space, you can move around, and if you select something, is Command 2, zoom to selection. So I'm just going to quickly bring that image that we just captured into our file. I'm going to scale it down. All right. And we're going to try and create this logo. Okay. So the reason I make the artboards 100 by 100 is that it makes it easier to do some math inside your head. So let's go ahead. So to make these triangles, what I'm going to do is just draw a rectangle. It's 36 by 18. And I'm going to double click, which makes it go in editing mode. I'm going to delete one of these points, and I'm going to move this point up 18 points. There, that's about it. I'm going to hit duplicate this file, bring it all the way here, and I'm going to flip it. Let's see the size. It's 38 pixels apart. Now let's see what we can do to make sure everything is symmetrical. I'm going to hold shift to make sure I have a perfect square, and I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to make another square and delete this one. All right, so now I think what we can do, I'm just going to pull this one outside so we see it side by side. I'm going to select all of these, remove the border, select the fill, and make them black. All right, that's our logo. That's about it. We're done with one of them. That was quite easy. Moving on to the next one. Let's see, which one should we do next? Let's do this NIK one, or NAK. NHK, right. I made 3 mistakes. I'm going to Command Shift 4, take a screenshot. So it's slanted, it's fine. I'm going to bring that screenshot inside, and let's see, going to make another artboard. I'm just going to duplicate this one, delete everything inside, make this 80 width, and drop it in there. It's a bit too big. All right, I'm gonna hold Shift and Alt so that I'm resizing proportionally. All right, let's see what we got here. So I think the perspective when they took the photo was a bit off. That's why this is slanted. And how we can fix this is using transform. And I don't think transform always shows on Sketch by default. You can make it show by right clicking on the toolbar, hitting customize toolbar, and dragging it into your toolbar. I already have it there, so I'm not going to change anything. But if you don't want to put it there, I think what you can do is go under layer, transform. Yep, that's where you can find it. So I'm going to hit transform and I'm going to move it down. Let's see. No, this doesn't work. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is think in my mind what makes up this shape. Obviously, we don't want to create the white parts. All we're interested in is the black parts. So this logo is using negative space to create the H, but we don't need to create the H. It looks like the top and bottom part here are the same size. So I'm just going to recreate that with rectangles. The shortcut for rectangle is R. So I'm just going to go do a 6x19 there and drag it down with a gap of 6. Looks about right. And move this to the right. Another gap of 6 maybe. I'm going to duplicate this outside to have a reference that is not covered. Right, so it looks like the gap here between these two rectangles is a bit larger than this one. These two are 6 apart, and I think I'm going to make this one 7 apart. And I'm going to move it up until it's the same size. And it looks like this area is also thicker than the gap here, because this area is the same as the gap here. So if the gap is 7, that means this rectangle needs to have the 7 width. Perfect. So by the way, just now I held down Command and I used the arrows to resize. You can use up and down to resize as well. It's a quick handy shortcut. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side before I forget. Okay, so now I'm going to, let's see, to create this shape here. So to break this one down, it looks like I can make this with 2 rectangles. I'm going to alt drag it to the side, make it half the size of this one. The height is 44. That means this has to be 22, and it is perfect. Now what I'm going to do is select these 2 points. So I'm going to select the shape, double click, I go in editing mode, I select the 2 points at the bottom, and I use the arrow keys to push them to the left. All right, maybe I moved a bit too much. I'm going to move them one out. All right, and I'm going to move this one down all the way to the bottom and flip it vertically. There we go. And on the other side, so remember the bottom is not matching because of the photo that was taken of the book. Doesn't have the right perspective. So I'm going to move this one there, and I'm going to copy paste this. So there's 2 of them here. I'm going to double click and move the bottom points until it matches the other one. Now if we delete the background, if I select all of these, remove the border and make it black, perfect. Now we have our own NHK logo. Now if you look here, you might see a faint line between the 2 rectangles here. So to clean your file up, once you know that you're done, you don't want to keep it like this, because you might select it and move it and suddenly, whoops, you've taken half of your logo. What I like to do is to merge all of these shapes together. So these 3 are fine to be merged. So I'm just gonna do a union. And if you look to the left in the layers panel, you see that I can open this and I still have access to the other ones. So I like to keep these at this stage, that I have access to all the all the layers that make up the union. if I'm still working on the logo. But once I'm done, what I usually like to do, I'm going to undo the union. I make a duplicate of the board, and I can call this backup, NHK backup, and I'm going to name this one NHK final. Command 2 to zoom to selection. So now what I'm going to do is select these three, union, and I'm going to flatten them. Notice this arrow on the left that I can still see, but once I flatten, they're gone. What flatten does is, let me show you. When I double click, now I have these new points that I can manipulate. I'm going to, if I do the same thing with the K, these two lines right here, they're touching. I'm not sure if this is going to work perfectly if I do a union on these three at the same time. It might work, sometimes it does, but what I like to do is to make sure I double click and I click on the line here and I move it down. So now there's no line and there is a perfect overlap area. So now when I select these three, union and flatten, it's perfect. So now I'm just going to select all three of them, union. There's no need to flatten because it can't be simplified any further. Just in case you can't see the option flatten in your toolbar, again, right click, customize toolbar. I like to move flatten and transform in the toolbar because they're very handy. Oh, actually it is in the, both of them are in the default one. Never mind. But well, now you know how you can edit those. Okay, so we are done with our NHK logo. I'm gonna move this up here. Let's see what the third logo it is that we're going to make. I'm just going to make sure it's still recording. It is recording, perfect. Let's see, this logo here. What is it? DIC? I can't really tell. It looks like a DIC. Let's say it's DIC. Going to Command-Shift-4, take a screenshot, move back, take it, move it inside. And now what I'm going to do is move it outside, move it, okay. It's not letting me select. Okay, let's save this file and icon demo and close it and open it again. There we go. That was weird. Maybe it's something to do with the screen recording. All right, so we have this logo here now, and how am I going to make this? All right, let me just duplicate this file so I have all the sizes. I'm going to move this inside. All right, and I'm going to center it quickly. So I'm going to first create a rectangle inside because that seems to be the easiest thing to do. 7 by 44. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to duplicate this to the side so that I have a reference as well. Maybe I'm going to select this one and I hit the number 2 to reduce opacity. That way I can see better what I'm working on. Let's see. How can I make this? So there's a few ways you can go about this. Oh, right. But this is 7, so it might be a bit tricky. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, all right, I'm going to create this logo twice so that you see both ways how I would recreate it. I'm going to duplicate it. So it looks like the gap for both of them is 2. And oh, okay. I'm going to move this one there. It's 7. So the width of this one and the height of this one are the same. They are 36 and 44. So these are not perfect squares, which is okay. That's what the logo is. And what I'm going to do now is select all these 3, do a union, and then do a flatten. So now, if you remember, if I double click, now I have access to these newly created points. I'm going to select these 2 points inside, and I'm going to give it a radius of 2. And I'm going to select the points outside and give them a radius of 6. That looks right. Now I can actually delete this one select this one, copy paste, move it here, flip it around, and make sure it is 2 pixels away. And to create this part here, I'm going to duplicate this one again. And what I can do is right now, okay, let me just delete the background. So now what I can do is select these two and do a union. But I try to not do that because if I flatten this now, it sometimes it creates some extra points. It looks like it's fixed now. What I like to do usually is I take this. So I always try to stay away from the tangent lines. I don't think it they just mess up your file sometimes. So I make it a bit smaller so there are no lines touching. There's just overlapping. I select the two of them, union and flatten, and just union. Oh, okay. All right, so here's a trick. If you have a shape that has an open part like this one, you can go in here and set it to subtract. Oops. You can set this to subtract so that when you merge it, it works. Or I'm going to undo, undo, undo. Or you can select all of them and hit difference. That's a trick. I don't know why the difference one works, but it does. So if you're merging multiple shapes that have a lot of open areas like this in the middle, you might want to use difference when union doesn't work. And right, we remove the border and we make the fill black. And that is our third logo. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, we created this one. This one seems a bit tough. All right, hexagons. Okay, let's see what we can do with this one. I'm going to take a screenshot again and going to bring the, actually I'm going to zoom out first here, make a duplicate, delete this one, and now I bring in the screenshot, resize, drop it in there, and we're good. Okay, so I can see that this, if I continue this line here, it makes a hexagon. So I'm gonna go to insert, shape, polygon. I'm going to drag around it, and I'm going to increase the sides to 6. So now I have a hexagon. So now what I want to do is make sure it's I roughly cover the areas of the shape. Height 61. I want it 60, so it's a round number. Makes it much easier to work with. Actually, one thing we can do right now is measure the gap here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6. Okay, perfect. That means if we do a border that is inside and it is 5, it is exactly the same thickness as this one right here. I'm going to remove the fill and make this black. Perfect. So now I have roughly the shape outside, and now I'm going to make the lines the second layer basically. I'm going to copy and paste this one, and I'm going to resize this until the height is 40. Perfect. So now it's roughly the second one inside, and another resize to bring it down to 20. Okay, now I have this shape inside here. Now how do I remove the edges? So right here where it's touching, it looks like I need to cut it up and down. Now, because this angle here is the same angle as this one, I'm going to cheat and use this hexagon here and move it. I'm going to move it to the top and remove the border, give it a fill, and make it white. But if you look closer, it's not really touching. And if I move it, it doesn't want to go where I want it to go. So the trick here is to hit Command, comma, or you can go to Sketch Preferences. And I'm going to go to Canvas. Let's see, where did I move it this time? fit layers and points to pixel bounds. It's under layers. And now when I try to move it, I can move it exactly where I want to. So I'm going to zoom really close and get it as close as possible to the point. That looks about right. And when I zoom out, there we go. It looks really good. I'm going to do the same trick here with the bottom part, and I'm going to move it to this side as well. Again, I have to get really close and make sure these are all working perfectly. There we go. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to hold Z and drag to zoom onto the dragged area. And there we go. Perfect. Command 1. Oops, zoom too much. Okay. Let's see. All right. What are we missing right now? Okay, so it looks like we need the line here, a line here, and a line going up. How can I do that? Should I use more hexagons? Okay, so you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to create a duplicate of this file. And I'm going to flatten all these shapes so that when I add more shapes, it won't get too complicated, because right now we have invisible shapes and this logo is not really done. If you're covering things with shapes that are meant to be invisible, you're not really done. So what I'm going to do is select the outer shape and hit outlines. What outlines does is when you have a stroke, it turns that stroke into a fill. So now I have a path on the outside and a path on the inside. Yeah, so this is one problem that Sketch has. When you do the outlines function, it moves the larger path outside on top and the smaller one underneath. But this is not what anyone wants. What you want is this to be on top and be set to subtract. That's literally what strokes do. So I don't know why Sketch doesn't do this. If you're listening to this, please fix this. So now we have the shape. So you can see from the blue line what shape we have now. So now what I'm going to do is going to subtract these three from this shape. But instead of subtracting them from this shape outside and then doing it from this one, I'm gonna try and do that all in one go. So when I have this one selected, I'm going to hit outlines again. I'm going to go inside and fix it again and set this to subtract. I'm going to select both of these and hit union, and we have our layers right now. So this is our base, subtract, add, subtract. And now what I'm going to do is merge these, union these three shapes, the white ones outside. I'm going to give them a gray fill so you can see. So I'm going to select these three gray ones and union them. And if I select this one and if I hit subtract, it should work, and it does. Perfect. So now all I do is, actually, you know what? I'm okay with this. This is perfect. I was going to hit flatten, but because we moved these hexagons, the gray ones outside manually, I'm afraid it might mess up with our shape. So I'm going to create this as is. Actually, let's just try. Yep, doesn't change anything. This one, this one, this one, and this one stayed one shape. Okay, well, I don't mind, it's fine. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this one, keep another backup. I'm going to zoom in, and now I'm thinking, how can I make this line that goes up here? So one way that comes to mind is if I just copy paste this shape and I move these lines up. But how would I, because I only need this part from this shape. So what I'm going to do is I keep moving up and I'm going to draw a rectangle right here. I'm going to select this shape, hit outlines, fix the outline by moving the smaller one on top and hitting subtract. And I select both of these, the rectangle and this shape, and hit intersect. Perfect. So now I have only this triangle here, and that's all I wanted. But if I open this, I still have all of these shapes and I don't really need them anymore. So I'm going to hit flatten. So now you might be thinking, why didn't I just draw a rectangle here? The reason is that I cannot just draw a rectangle at this angle. I could draw one and rotate it at 60 degrees, and move it there and try to make it look right with my eyes, but it wouldn't be perfect. So, and I want this to be perfect. So what I'm gonna do with this line here now, I'm going to copy and paste the polygon again. And to make this, so I cannot just select this one. Actually, can I? Nope, I can't. So I can just select this one and move it here because I won't know when it's matching this perfectly. So what I'm going to do, because this is a hexagon, I'm going to hold shift and drag from the bottom. So now if you look here, we have this line here, and this line, this area right here from this shape is what we want. I'm going to hit outlines, fix it up, make it a subtract. I'm going to draw a rectangle and select both of them and hit intersect. Perfect. And I'm going to flatten the rectangle. And the last shape we want is here. Now how can we do this one? This one's tricky. All right, let's see. So I managed to trick it with the double click and moving the points there and resizing from there. But how can I move it here? This line, the equivalent would be there. Oh, okay. Would it work? All right, so let's see. I have an idea what I might be able to do here. So I'm going to duplicate the polygon, right? And I'm going to, so I see that the height is 20 here. So I'm going to move this by holding shift until the height is 40. Right, I can, because I have this unselected, it's not going to snap, so I'm going to hold it. So it snaps, but it's not snapping. Interesting. All right, I'm going to do another way. I'm going to hit Command K. I'm going to make it 200%, and I'm going to scale from the right side. There we go. Oh, but when you scale, it actually scales the thickness too. So I'm going to bring this back down to 5. Now I'm hoping, because the height was 20 and now it's 40, if I move this exactly 10 pixels up, or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I move this? It's not working. Okay, let's see. Duplicate, Command K, 200, and make this 5. And I'm going to reduce opacity. Oh, you know what? Because these two, okay, I see what's happening. So I'm going to move this to the left. I'm going to select the other one, select both of them, right align, but it moved the other one. God damn it. All right, how am I gonna do this? This is not working. Let's see. Okay, you know, let's do what I didn't want to do from the beginning. Let's create a rectangle, make it 5. Let's rotate it by holding shift there and move it until it looks about right. Then we turn this layer off and we zoom in and we make sure it's perfect. I'm going to also turn off the, where is it? Nope, it's not there. It's under view, it's under canvas, it's under smart guides. They're getting a bit annoying when you're designing logos like this. You want to keep smart guides on when you're working on interfaces, but when you're doing logos like this, not always helpful. Okay, this looks about perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to double click on this one. Going to click here and delete this point. because I don't want this one to mess it up there. And I'm going to click here and click on this point because it was too close. I don't like it. And now what I'm going to do is select this. Actually, this is still a regular polygon. I'm going to change it to outline, fix it, subtract, and I'm going to select. That didn't work. Why didn't it work? Maybe difference. Oh, there we go. And now we have these two shapes, and if we select both of them and union, it should work. Perfect. So now we have this one shape. Oh, and what we can do is now flatten. So now if I open it up, we have this shape, which is, okay, let's see what's happening. This shape should be a union, which it is. This one doesn't matter, and this one should be a subtract. This one should go out. Okay, so now if I flatten this one, why doesn't it want to merge? It did. It didn't. Anyway, yeah, the union in Sketch is a bit strange, so I'd consider this done at this point. If you really want, you could go in there, maybe because this one's touching there. Let's see if we can flatten this now. Nope. Okay, maybe, okay. So this one is a union, this one is a union, this shape is a union, this path is a union. Okay, let's see it now. Flatten. Nope. Okay, it just doesn't want to merge these two for some reason. All right, I don't mind. All right, so that's our logo. That's the third one. That's the fourth one. All right, 2 more logos to go. Let's see what else we got. We got these arrows here, and we got these circles and arrows there. I'm going to move these away, take a quick screenshot here, take a screenshot there, and I'm going to move here, duplicate this. Oh, okay, this is the old one. It's empty. Okay, now I'm going to drag these two shapes back into our file. Let's start with this one. Height 80, and drag it inside. Make sure it's centered. Doesn't really matter because the image is not centered. So okay, let's see. So we got one rectangle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the gap here seems to be the same as the width of the rectangle here. So I'm going to, actually I'm not going to use this to trace it. I'm going to create it right here on the side. So we have 7 lines, and one here 8, one down here 9. So I know the height of my whole object is going to be 90, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to be a 90 by 60. So I can draw a rectangle, and I can make it 60 by 90. I'm going to center it. I'm going to, actually I'm not going to lock it. I'm just going to reduce opacity, and I'm going to use it as a reference. I could use grid lines, but I'm too lazy. Okay, so let's see, let's start with the arrows. So this arrow is going to be 1, 2, 3 plus, so 30 by 15 it looks like is going to be. So I'm going to start from the top right, and I make a 30 by 15 rectangle, delete one, and move 1, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that is our top right arrow. It looks a bit bigger, but it's okay. We are recreating it bigger here. We have this rectangle here is going to be 10 by 20. Right there, I'm going to center it. And we have another, sorry, this is going to be 10 by 25. Yes. And I'm going to move this down 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have this piece. I'm going to move it down again. I have this piece. to move it down again, and I have this piece here. And I'm going to, all right, so if I'm going fast, if you're not following, what I did was break down what makes up this shape. So I see that there's 2 arrowheads, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles, and 2 half circles. So I'm going to create the 2 arrowheads and the 4 rectangles first, and then I worry about the circles. So now I'm going to drag this to the bottom right, so I can select these 2 and align them, and then I just flip this. There we go. And this one should be 5 pixels apart. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I need a way to attach this all the way to this one right here. I'm going to hit O to create a square and do that. A 50 by 50 rectangle. And I'm going to remove the fill and give the thickness 10. Put it inside. Okay, there we go. It looks like this is actually smaller than what I thought. It should be 5 pixels shorter, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Oh, 4 pixels. Okay. I'm going to move this higher. Select this layer under. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. And I'm going to turn on my pixel bounds and my canvas smart guides. Now I need them. Okay, perfect. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I don't need the full circle. I only need half of it. So I'm going to use an outline. I'm going to move this on top. I'm going to make it a subtract. And I need to cut half of it off. So what I'm going to do is draw a rectangle until it's half, select both of them and hit subtract. Did I get it right? Oh, this rectangle was moved a bit too much. So I can just select it here. I can move it left. That's one good thing about when I mentioned when you're not done with a logo, don't flatten them. That's where it comes handy. So I can move this rectangle freely and it wouldn't affect the main shape that I'm trying to recreate. But now that I know this is the half circle I want and I'm done with it, I'm just going to hit flatten. And I'm going to hold Alt and drag this to duplicate it, to move it here, and I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to align it to the side. I can see that I overshot how much I need to go there. Select it, move it in. Select this one, move it in. Okay. So now if I delete the background, if I select everything, remove border, add a fill, there we go. That's our shape right there. But you see there's a problem. Again, I see all these faded white lines, so I'm not super comfortable merging all of these. So what I'm gonna do is select this one, make a line, move it in, make a point here, move it in. This one, same, make a point, move it in. So when you're in editing mode, editing point mode, if you hover any line, you can see that you can add a point. So that's what I'm doing. I'm clicking there and I'm moving it to the right. That's all I'm doing. And this one, I need a point here, move it in. I need a point here, move it in. So now if you look back, nothing has changed from what the logo looks like, but there are no more faded lines because there are perfect overlaps. Now what I'm gonna do is select all of them, union, and flatten. And now if you look inside, hey, didn't flatten, interesting. Did I flatten? Ah, there we go. So we have an arrow this way and arrow that way. So I don't have all the rectangles inside anymore. All right, that is our 5th logo. And let's create this last one. Let's see, how would I go about making this one? So once again, I try to break this down to its very basic parts that I can create. So what components do make this shape? So there are 3 circles that are not completed, and then there's a rectangle and there's an arrow. Okay, let's see. I'm going to move this there, make it a bit bigger so it's easier to see. I'm going to start with the circles. I don't know why, I just feel like it. 30 seems like a right number. I'm going to move the circle there, and I'm going to move hold Alt and move it there. And have to move it up a bit actually. If I look at the gap, it's 26 and 15. Doesn't feel right, but it looks right. So I'm going to duplicate this and move it 30 to the right. Okay, I'm going to select all three, remove the fill, and the thickness seems like it should be, gonna change the thickness inside. 3, 4, 5 seems to be the right one. Right, so here's the trick now. If you look here, if I click on the cog on the border, one thing I can do is add dashes. So I add dashes that are 2 pixels apart, and this is what you get. But I'm going to trick this. I'm going to increase the dash length until it is roughly what I want. So seems like this is what I want, but it is mirrored. So I'm going to select it and flip it. There we go. I'm going to remember the 64. So I'm going to select these two, click on the cog, and give them a 64 dash. All right, so how would I do this? So I have to flip them upside down and then left and right. These are 3 circles. Perfect. Now let's see if I use an outline. Where did it go? Okay. There's an outline there. There's an outline there. Created 2. Interesting. So I'm going to delete one of them, and I'm going to flip it. But it moved it. Okay. So I'll see. I'm going to keep a duplicate of this one as backup, and I'm going to hit outline on this one. I'm going to remove one of these because I don't know why it creates 2. I'm going to flip it, and you can see that it's moved a bit. So what I want is this one to be left aligned with this one. All right, perfect. Now I can remove the backup that was under. And now what I can do is hit these 2, select outline on both of them. Again, it's creating duplicates, that is canceling out the icon, and it does not respect my flipping. And let's move it to the left 1 pixel. Okay. And what I'm gonna do now is make sure this is aligned with this one, which is not. So if I move this up 1 pixel, okay, perfect. So now this line here is in the same line as this one and this one. And the thickness of this one was 5, I think. Let's see. Yes, it was 5. And I'm just going to drag it until the end. I can move this outside. I don't need it anymore. And if you look here, we can see that this thickness here is roughly the same thickness as this one. That means if this is 5, we need a rectangle that is 15 height. But the problem with 15 is that you can't cut it in half. Or can you? Okay, so what I'm going to do is delete this one. 15 means 7.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I need to move it 0.5 up. Okay, there we go. Right, and these are our shapes. Once again, remove all the borders, make it all black, and there we go. And I'm going to do the trick again to make sure when I union everything, it doesn't mess with anything. And select everything, union, and so if you look here, this is my favorite part. If I select this layer, you see all of this part, the messy parts, you hit flatten, boom, you have one shape, and it's beautiful. All right, everyone, this is the end of the first episode of this series. If you liked it, subscribe, follow on Medium, clap for it. I don't know where you're watching this. And if you have any questions, you can leave a comment. I'm going to read all of the comments and reply to them. If you have something complicated in mind that a comment maybe not a comment may not be able to answer it. I'm going to try and put it in the next episode for you. And yeah, see you all until next time. Thanks.